Welcome to the Springs in the Desert podcast. We're so happy that you're here with us. We're those friends that you can take with you wherever you are on the path of infertility.
Hello, welcome back to the Springs in the Desert podcast. I'm your host, Jillian. We're back for another mini-sode, a desert reflection. I'm joined by Ann. How you doing today?
Doing great. Ready for a mini-sode.
I love these episodes. It's so good to just have, a little bit more of a lighthearted conversation about important topics. And today is definitely no exception to that. We are going to be talking about Mother's Day. And, I think we can all probably remember a Mother's Day or 2 or 5 or 10 that were difficult to go through and to kind of experience in a season of infertility. And so today we want to talk to you about some resources that we have that can help you spread awareness about the challenges of Mother's Day for those who are in a season of infertility. We also want to encourage you to celebrate Mother's Day because you are, in fact, a spiritual mother wherever you're at, wherever the Lord has placed you. You are a mother in so many ways. And so if this is a year where maybe it's not so difficult, maybe you are feeling a little bit of brightness or joy this year, there's many ways to celebrate. And even if you're not and it's difficult, there's still ways that you can kind of take time aside with you and or your spouse to celebrate that. And yeah, just give you some tools, some really helpful tools about how to do that. So yeah, would you maybe just start us off with that? What are some ways to spread awareness that we have here at Springs in the Desert?
Yeah, so I want to acknowledge, as you just mentioned, that Mother's Day is hard. If you're struggling with infertility, primary, secondary, wherever you are on the path, if you have struggled with the loss of a child, Mother's Day is probably the hardest day of the year. So we just want to put that out there, acknowledge that. And we want you to know that we see you, we hear you, we understand that it can be so painful. But I think there are things that we can do, resources that we have, ways that we can navigate it. So the first one that I thought of was, and this is a hard one, but talk to your priest if you can. Tell him about why Mother's Day is hard. And I feel like we always have to throw in those caveats, like we love mothers. We're not trying to erase Mother's Day, right? Because we're not. Mother's Day is great. But we also want to acknowledge that the church can celebrate Mother's Day differently. It's not a liturgical season. It's not a holy day. It's a great day to acknowledge our mothers, but to acknowledge all women and the motherhood that's built inside of us. I mean, that's the way that God made us. With mother's hearts. So we are biological moms. We're foster and adoptive moms. We're godmothers. We are aunts to our nieces and nephews. We maybe teach in the catechetical program. I mean, there's just so many ways that we mother and that we nurture others. And so you can talk to your priest about that. And if you need some help with that, we have some resources.
Yes, we do.
We have our Mother's Day bifold,
Yes.
right? And it's linked on our website, on our social media. We can put it in the show notes here as well. We also have a nice little trifold pamphlet. It's called 5 Things I Wish My Pastor Knew About Infertility. So drop that off to your pastor. If you're afraid, slip it under his door. He'll never know it was you, right? But I think so often our pastors, our clergy, our deacons, they may not realize that this is something that's so painful, or they may not realize how many people are out there in the pews feeling that anxiety and that trepidation about Mother's Day. So I think that is kind of a good first step. Talk to your priest, your pastor, the deacon. And if you need help, let us know. Email us,
Yes.
And we'll help you and we'll give you the support that you need with that.
Yeah, I really love that idea because another way sometimes that I'm able to express myself is writing a letter. So you could even, download the bifold and write out your thoughts. Maybe you just use it as a guide to talk, or you just send it in or drop that off so that he could read it. And I think too, although of course here we're talking about the cross of infertility, there is no form of motherhood that goes without suffering. And so there are other women who are sitting in the pews who are experiencing infertility or have lost children, or maybe are estranged from their children, or are in difficult situations. Maybe their children are in a very dangerous situation, or maybe they're serving in the military and they haven't talked to them for a very long time. There's so many situations that I think we don't know how fruitful that conversation could be by just starting it. So I really love those resources. And the 5 things I wish my pastor knew will likely be either now when this airs or very soon be available in Spanish as well. So if you're looking for a Spanish resource, if you're in a Hispanic parish, that would be there for you too.
Yeah. And just before we leave that topic, just to say that it's not a competition. Like, we often talk about not comparing crosses. Well, we also can't really compare ways of being a mother. And that's not to say that being a biological or adoptive mother is like one of many choices. Like, I can have children or I can work at the soup kitchen. Like, they're not the same. So we're not trying to say that. But we're also really saying that there are so many ways that we women engage our motherhood, our spiritual motherhood, and real opportunities for nurturing and giving of ourselves to people who really need it, to kids, to our peers, to people who are older than us. There are so many ways that we can mother. And so let's celebrate that. St. John Paul the Great talked about the genius of women. And so let's celebrate. Let's not make a competition. Let's acknowledge the sacrifice and the beauty of our moms, but also recognize that motherhood lies deep within each one of us, and it's really needed in the world. Okay, so the second thing that I thought about is during COVID, we got so many messages from women who said, I'm so glad that we're in lockdown because it means I don't have to go to church and be the only one. It feels like we're the only one who remains seated during that final blessing when all the moms are asked to stand. And I just remember, seeing those messages, and it just broke my heart because can be such deep pain there that we even separate ourselves from the church on that day. So what I want to encourage everyone this Mother's Day is to not skip church. And I know that can be really hard, but I want to say that we need Jesus most of all on this day. We need him all the time, but especially on a day that's as hard as Mother's Day. And we need that intimacy with Jesus in worship. If we're Catholic or Orthodox Christians, we need Jesus in the Eucharist. We need him to be inside of us, just wrapping us in his love and just being so close to him. If you absolutely need to leave before that final blessing, I want to just say, give yourself permission to do that. It may take you some time to build yourself up to be able to stay through the whole thing, or maybe you or someone else has talked to your priest and he ends up doing that final blessing differently. Maybe he asks everyone to stand or all the women to stand. And so, you might have to work yourself up to that. But if you really need to leave before that, it's okay. Don't feel guilty. Don't beat yourself up over it. And then the last thing, and this is something that my spiritual mother told me a long time ago, and that is to ask the Blessed Mother to hold your hand. Just say, Mama Mary, here I am. I'm going into church. I know this is going to be hard. I feel like anxious and I have so much trepidation and I don't know if I'm going to burst into tears or if I'm just going to run out and, people are going to say, what's going on with her? And trust me, people are really not noticing what anybody else is doing. So oftentimes we think like a spotlight is on us and it really isn't. But just ask Mary to hold your hand, and she will, and she'll give you that motherly care that you need in that moment.
Those are really, really great suggestions. And, I'm thinking of different parishes that I've been to where even if I'm trying to advocate for a kind of a different way to do that final blessing or a different way to approach Mother's Day and it doesn't happen, which could be the case at your parish, where even if you try, it still doesn't happen. I'm just going to pray that the Holy Spirit encourages you and that you feel the entire community of Springs in the Desert standing up with you.
Amen.
That I think it's a really, even though it can take, and every year it's just a little bit, I don't know if it's scary or anxious or it just doesn't, it's a little bit awkward nevertheless.
Yeah.
I just know that by me standing up that I'm saying more than allowing the evil one to whisper lies into my heart. And so, yeah, I think if we can just think of the whole of all the Springs in the Desert, all the women just standing up and saying yes to Mother's Day, we're all holding each other's hand. So I really love those. And asking Mary, she's right there with us, standing up with us. Yeah, I'm wondering, Anne, for those, whether they're maybe struggling this Mother's Day, it's a kind of a tricky day for them this year, or maybe they're in a place where they're feeling like they could celebrate a little bit. What are maybe some suggestions, something they could do with their spouse this year to celebrate?
Yeah, I think that's a really important point. And that was my third point, which is do something special with your spouse. And if you want to skip the brunch crowd, the Mother's Day brunch crowd, that's okay. Pack a picnic basket and go to a park or just your favorite spot. Go on a hike or do your favorite activity. Go bowling or mini golf or go to your favorite craft brewery. Take a drive in the country or go to the city. Just, do something fun together. And if there's bad weather and you can't have a picnic or go on a hike, then just order in and watch movies or, read together or play a game or just kind of be together with each other. Just talk or, just do your own sort of hobbies that you do, but be there present together. I think it's really important for us to, if we're feeling that sadness, to not, like you said about the devil and those lies, like not to let him whisper in our ear and just kind of back away from our spouses. So yeah, do something special with each other and be there for each other. Celebrate in your own way, like you said.
Yeah, I love that because there are so many ways that you could do that. And, I remember this Mother's Day where it was a particularly difficult day and the Lord orchestrated just a really beautiful day. And I know this is probably what a lot of women would love to receive. And so I just hold it really dear to my heart. But I had some family members and some friends just throughout the day who had texted me simply Happy Mother's Day. And there was about midway through the day, there was a doorbell ring. And when I went to open it, there was no one there, but there was a bouquet of flowers on the doorstep that said Happy Mother's Day. And maybe that won't happen for you this year, but perhaps you could consider sending a text message to some of the spiritual mothers in your life and saying Happy Mother's Day. Or maybe with your spouse, just reflecting on the ways that you are spiritual parents. Who do you parent spiritually? And maybe pray for them that day or reach out to them and just thank them for being in your life. Or, maybe you could, if you like to bake or you like to make food, you could do that and invite some of those people over who you have the privilege of being a spiritual mother to. But I think that there are ways, whether you need to receive this year and kind of be loved on, there are ways you can do that with your spouse, or if you're in a place to give, I think there are many small ways you could do that too this year.
Yeah, I agree. And, if there's anybody out there who's thinking, well, how can I support somebody I love? Maybe it's my daughter or it's my sister or my best friend. Should I say Happy Mother's Day? You know your relationship with that person. For some of them, wishing them a happy Mother's Day might be just so welcome. For others, it might sort of reopen that wound. And so perhaps you can say something different, like, hey, I just want you to know today that I love you and that you're such an important part of our family, or that you are the greatest friend that I have. And I'm so grateful for our friendship. and for everything that you do for us. Or if it's a godmother, have the godson or the goddaughter send a card. It doesn't even have to say Happy Mother's Day. It can just say, thanks so much for being my godmama. I love you. So, there are ways that you can be really affirming, but also sensitive. And again, just know and communicate with that person that you love so that you know how best you can approach them, whether it's with a full-on, you are a great godmama, spiritual mama, Happy Mother's Day, or if you have to kind of temper it a little bit, but just still affirm what a gift that woman is in your life, in your family, and in your community.
I love that, and I am going to be taking that with me this week as Mother's Day approaches and as we celebrate that day in whatever capacity we're able to. Listeners, I hope that this episode has given you a little bit of encouragement, a little bit of maybe a few suggestions and ideas about how to celebrate and to enter into Mother's Day the best that you can. And just know that we're praying for you. We're walking with you. And whether you are able to be there and receive a blessing on Mother's Day, or maybe you have to leave a little early, just know that we're standing up there with you and maybe for you this year, if that's where you're at. And that's just fine. It's an honor to walk with you, and we'll see you next time on the Springs in the Desert podcast.
Thank you so much for joining us for this Springs in the Desert podcast episode. If you have a minute, please rate and review us so that we can reach more listeners. Check out our social media pages on Facebook and Instagram, and go to our website, springsinthedesert.org, where you can sign up for our newsletter and hear about more things that we have going on. Most importantly, remember that God loves you so much, and so do we.